Okay, so this is now the third part of 4.1. It is a long unit, so we're breaking it up. So at this point, you should have completed that trig intro thing that I uploaded onto the LMS, and you now should be able to. We're going to be working on some different stuff here, which is we should have a foundation of skills. You should be able to use two ratios to find a decimal, and you should also be able to find a side as well. Now, in this case, this one here is Pythagoras, which is why I'm giving us some time here to work through it. Now, if I want to find the height, I'm using two sides to find a third side. It's Pythagoras, right? Which is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. This is my hypotenuse, and I'm just going to say this is A and this is B. It doesn't matter which one in those cases. All that matters is hypotenuse. So what I'm going to do now is just substitute those values in, right? So A I'm saying is 10.6 plus B squared is equal to C squared, which I've said is 19.8. So square, square, square. So I want to first off, I want it to tell me what B is, right? B is equal to blah. But to do that, I need to tell B squared is equal to blah. I need to get rid of this 10.6 and then the square, right? So I need to get rid of the 10.6 and then the square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract both sides by 10.6 squared. This is happening to both sides. It cancels on the left side. And I'm going to be left with it's just b squared is equal to 19.8 squared minus 10.6 squared. So all I gotta do is 19.8 minus 10.6. Sorry, 19.8 squared. Easy mistake to make. You just saw me make it. Subtract 10.6 squared. 279.68. So b squared is equal to 279.68. Now, I don't care what b squared is, I care what b is. What's the opposite of squaring something? It is taking the square root. I'm going to do that to both sides too. If I take the square root of b squared, I get b. If I take the square root of this 279.68, pro tip, if you've done this and you have the same calculator I have, equals. It automatically pumps the answer. And I literally just, to kind of show you what I did there, I literally went to my answer. Here's my calculation. I just clicked square root and enter. And it gives it to me as 16.7. So the height of this one is 16.7. That's Pythagoras. If you're struggling, especially with Pythagoras, ask me. I know it's a lot. I'm throwing a lot at you guys. That's just the reality of it. We're kind of condensing, a couple months of school into kind of the lesson here. That's just the reality of ABE. So at this point, though, we should be able to take these skills of Pythagoras, finding an angle, and Pythagoras, finding a side with sides, and trigonometry, finding an angle or finding a side using angles, and applying it to more complex stuff. So in this case, it wants us to find QS. QS is this line right here, right? It wants us to find ST, which is this line right here, and it wants us to find RT, which is this line right here. Very difficult to do, right? That's not an easy thing to be able to do. So there's a couple ways that we can actually we can solve this. The first thing here, what I'm going to do is I need to think about what I have. I have a 26 degrees. I know what angle S is. I know PQ is 12.5. That is all I know. That said, I have an angle, I have a side, I have two things. I'm trying to find a third thing of this big triangle, of triangle SPQ. I can figure this out. So here's what I know. I'm going to try and find, I'm going to use blue here for QS. So I need to use triangle, no, triangle. I'm going to use SPQ to find out what QS is. And if you're like, what is this triangle SPQ thing? Well, these 3 points make a triangle, that triangle. So I have 2 things. Now, this is the opposite. This is the hypotenuse. This is the adjacent of this triangle, right? I have an O and I have a, I'm trying to find an A. I have O and A, O and A. That's what I have, right? Because this is what I'm trying to find. SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. I have O and I have A. Tangent. I need to use tangent. So tangent of 26 degrees is equal to O, my opposite, which is 12.5, over my adjacent, which is, I don't know what it is. I'm just going to leave it as A. Cool. So now I got to get A by itself, right? A by itself. But the problem is A is on the bottom of this fraction. And now here's a pro tip, guys. No variable can be on the bottom of a fraction. A is a variable here. That can't happen. So the first thing, before I touch anything else, I got to get that to the top, which means I got to times both sides by A, right? These cancel out, and I'm left with tangent of 26 times A is equal to 12.5. Yay, I'm done. I've solved it. No, I don't care what tangent of 26A is. I care what A is. So now I need to get A by itself, right? So how do I do that? What's attached to it? This tangent of 26. So now I'm going to divide by tangent of 26. Now you might be curious here. What do you mean you're going to divide by tangent? We just established that yesterday that any number you divide by tangent breaks on your calculator. If I just divide by tangent, yes. But I am not just dividing by tangent. I am dividing by tangent of 26, which, as you remember, tangent of 26 has a value. I am dividing by something of value. So these cancel out, and I'm left with A is equal to 12.5 divided by tangent of 26, right? Now, at this point, you don't even have to include this step once you know what you're doing. But in this case, tangent of 12.5 divided by tangent of 26. 25.6. So in this case, this is 25.6 centimeters. I've used up way too much space here. This is going to cause a problem. I'm going to bleed a little bit into the right side here. I apologize. This is why I'm using color. So it's going to look a little messy on my part. I apologize. So now I got to think. Now, so I've done this one. Check. Now let's do ST or RT. It's kind of a tricky one to solve, right? How can I possibly figure out what those two things are? Now, at this point, I'm going to be honest with you. To find these remaining two things, it requires something that the textbook has written this question bad. Is one thing. Now, the textbook wants us to use this triangle here. Triangle STQ, sorry. Wants us to use QST. QST. The problem is that is not a right triangle. And now there is ways, like for example, I know this one here, and let me erase this. Here we go. Now, for example, I know that this is 12.5. If this angle is 26, this one's 90, this one has to be 64. I could use that to figure out the length of this side here, and then I could use that to figure out the length of this. Like that's too much work. The textbook has gotten it wrong. We're skipping past the rest of the example at this point. We don't care about it. So it is at this point, I want you guys to be able to start working through some of these questions as best that you are able to. Now, a lot of the times you have to really think about how I can find an answer. Now, for question 3, for example, how can I find question 3? You kind of have to think that like it gives you you have to apply it indirectly. I need two sides to be able to figure this out. I know this is the right triangle here. You would have to basically use these two things, 1 and 2, to find this. And then you can use two sides to find a third side, as an example. So that there's a couple ways you can do it. That'd be the way you want to do this. So you're applying this stuff indirectly now. It's no longer just enough to be able to solve a triangle. You need to actually plan it out a little bit. And that's the hard part. Usually at this point, I can solve a triangle. I can do that no problem. But it's I don't know how to use this information to find what they're asking for. So you usually have to solve it. It's 1, 2, 3 steps to be able to solve it. Just like for this one here. Well, how the heck do I solve this? This is really hard to be able to like go and do. Well, this whole thing here is a triangle. So you might have to use it to find, for example, like this side. Use Pythagoras of 11 and 8 to find this side. Well, now I have an angle, I have a side, and so on and so forth. So it's not that easy to be able to go and solve. So make sure you guys are trying your best. If you're not sure, ask. This is a hard unit. So just do your best here to be able to go through all of these questions here. I'm going to go straight to example 3, but before you get to this point, you should be trying these questions. All right. So next thing here is we have a piece of plywood. It's cut into shape. We want to calculate the dimensions of the plywood, which means the outside of it. Now, you might recognize something like this before. This is a compound shape. It's two simple shapes that are drawn together. So let's think about this here. Now I want to start with what I know. I know that this is 6 and it has, see this line? This means that this line is the same thing as this line. So if this is 6, this is 6. If this is 6, this is 6. If this is 6, this is 6. So I know a lot of stuff already. I also know that this is a 90-degree angle and this is a 90-degree angle, right? It goes straight up and down 90 degrees. So it is at this point that I have the ability to find some stuff here. So remember, I'm just trying to find the dimensions of it. So I want to try and find the dimensions of all of these sides, right? And so I'm going to actually label them. AB plus BC plus side CD, oops, plus side AD. That's what I'm finding. Now I know what AB is. It's 6. It tells me. I know what BC is. It's 6. It tells me. Now CD, I know what C to this thing is. I'm going to say, in fact, I'm even going to say this one here is E. I know what that is, but I don't know this last part here, nor do I know these parts. So this is what I'm trying to find. So let's think about it. What can I try and find? Well, I need to find this part here. I need to go to this triangle, and I need to find this part here, D and E. So I know this is 68, this is 6. I have two things. I can now find a third. So we're going to find DE is what I'm going to call this. Now DE, I'm going to label my triangle, right? This is my hypotenuse. This is my opposite side. Opposite side, which means this is my adjacent. Now I'm trying to find the adjacent, and I have something on my opposite side. OA. Tangent, TOA, right? So tangent of my angle is equal to opposite over adjacent. Now, My angle is 68 degrees. My opposite is 6. My adjacent is, crap, it doesn't tell me. That's what I'm trying to find. So now, right, I got times both sides by A. So I'm going to get A times tangent of 68 is equal to 6, right? I times both sides by A. Then I need to divide both sides by tangent of 68. To get what my answer is here. I don't have a lot of space, so I'm doing as best I can here, right? So it's 6 divided by tangent of 68. If you understand what I just did there, again, I need to get A by itself, so I times both sides by A. That moved to the left side on top. And then I need to get A by itself, which means I need to get rid of tangent of 68. So opposite of times by tangent is divided by it. So if I do that, so my A is 2.4. Right? So CD was this 6, and we know A is 2.4. 6 plus 2.4 is 8.4. Plus AD, this line here. Well, there's two ways I can do it. I now have a triangle. I can either use Pythagoras, or I can use trigonometry. I don't care which one you use. It's all the same thing in this case. It's going to give you the correct answer. So I don't care which one you use. I'm going to use Pythagoras just because. Good practice, right? So now to find AD, I'm going to use green here. AD, I'm going to use Pythagoras, right? Which is A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. See this triangle over here? This is my hypotenuse. And then it doesn't matter which one's A, it doesn't matter which one's B, it's all the same thing. So A squared is so 6 squared plus B squared, which is 2.4 squared, is equal to C squared, which we don't know what that is yet. So 6 squared plus 2.4 squared is 41.76. 41.76 is equal to C squared. Now, I don't care what C squared is, I care what C is, right? So I need to square root both of these things. And it will give me C is equal to 6.46. Or I'm just going to say 6.5, sure. So now this whole line here is 6.5. So all of a sudden now, I have the answer. The answer is this side plus this side plus this side plus this side. 6 plus 6 plus 8.4 plus 6.5, right? $26.9. 26.9 feet is the final answer. I'm going to circle that because that's my final answer. So at this point, you guys should be able to finish off the rest of this unit here. Again, this is a very difficult unit. Please ask for help. You should be doing this stuff early here. We have another example here that we're also going to do. So do these other questions before you jump in here. So just like before, it wants to find the perimeter of this, right? So you need to figure out how long this line is, and how long this line is, and how long this line is, and this one, and this side. So there are 5 things you need to figure out here, right? Which means you need to split this shape up a little bit. Kind of hard to be able to do. Now, at this point, I want you guys to just try this out. Try out this example. You can do it yourself. It's a very difficult question. I don't have enough space to do it, but 2, you also have the skills to be able to do it. And you can see this stuff here as a kind of a guideline. So I want you to try it out yourself and refer to this. This is an opportunity for you to practice self-help skills, using resources, which will come into the course a little bit later on. So try this out. Look at the exam and at the solution to be able to solve it. So it is at this point that you guys should be able to finish up the rest of this entire unit here and your assignment. It is very difficult. That's why we've broken this up into 3 sections. Ask for help if you need to. At a minimum, if you guys can do something like this, though, you are doing great. These are hard questions. It's okay if you're getting it wrong. If you can do just a triangle, though, you are doing really, really good. You can answer something like this, for example. Awesome job. I'm really proud of you. You've accomplished what takes most high schoolers a month. So good job, honestly. If you struggle with some of like these questions here, that's not because you're stupid or anything. It's because it's a hard question. It requires a lot of organization, and sometimes it's tricky to be able to work out like the problem solving steps. So try that out there as best that you can.